Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Galacti, bringing you another video on the channel. And today, everybody, I am going to go over my top 10 worst action figures. These figures are not on the list, they are actually my honorable mentions. I will talk about why in a second, but I just want to let you guys know before I go on with today's video, I do not hate any of my figures except maybe the number one spot. I do have a little distaste for that. But none of my figures I hate. It was actually very hard finding figures for this list. I had to kind of scour my room multiple times, and even some of the figures you see here, I do like. There are just little things about it, and I will talk about that in a minute. But again, I don't hate any of my figures. I love them. Not all equally, though. As you saw yesterday, I made my top 10 best, and this is going to be my top 10 worst. But just because they're my worst doesn't mean I hate them. They're just not as loved as some of the other ones. But before we get on with what are my worst figures, let's go over the honorable mentions. And I just want to first I want to bring to your attention, I do collect Star Wars figures. I didn't have any on display for my best figures, and the main reason is because I didn't have any Star Wars that are truly the best of the best. I do have one figure, though. I forgot to put him in my honorable mentions, which I will bring your attention to later on in this video. I did want to mention this figure because he's really cool. And I did also want to let you guys know that my figures, some of them are customized. Some of them are not at the state that they came in when purchased. And I will talk about I will mention all of that. I will mention what was customized, why, or some figures don't even have some of the accessories they normally come with. I'm looking at one main figure who's on this upcoming list who actually may have been it wouldn't have been one of my favorites, but would have been a really good figure if she had all this stuff. And what I take into consideration is articulation, how they look, how they feel when you pose them around, and how accurate they look to the actual source material. And I'll get into more depth and it's also my biases. So I have both Captain Marvel and Icarus on my honorable mentions or dishonorable because I don't really like Captain Marvel and I didn't like her movie. I didn't like the Eternals movie, but I still have these figures. I actually really like the look of both of them. They look really cool. But I don't like them as much as like some of my Captain Americas because they're not my favorite character. So we can get those guys out of the way. I did want to bring attention to C-3PO. He'd probably be actually on this list, but I didn't want to count him because he's mainly a statue. He does not have movement in the legs. He really only has movement a bit in the torso. His hands move up and down like this, and his head moves a bit. I didn't put him in the list just because I feel like that's unfair. He'd be super high up on my list just because he doesn't do anything. He's just nice to stand there. I have him pose next to one of my Luke Skywalkers in his, I forget which one, but one of my Lukes. So he just stands there. He has a nice presence, and that's really why I don't favor him. Sorry, I already forget who this is. But she's from the Black Widow movie. She is the Sergei mother to Black Widow. And really, I got the 2-pack for Alexi or Red Guardian. She just kind of came with it. And if you notice, this body is actually Black Widow's body from the deluxe pack. And the reason I did that is because I like the beige color more on my Black Widow. And I decided to kit out my Black Widow. Also, one thing I liked about this figure is she actually came with a back strap where I could put like the batons. So I gave that to Black Widow. That's why she's not on this list, because she actually came with some useful stuff. And she doesn't look bad. So she looks really good with my Black Widows. She's just not someone I'm very interested in. Poor Wasp. Wasp is actually a figure I really like, and I like the stuff she comes with. She is a peg warmer, but she looks great next to Ant-Man. The only problem is if I bring her up close, you can see that her eyes are not right in the helmet. Like if I look dead on, if that's the helmet looking straight at you, the eyes are shifted to the right or to the left you're seeing in the video, but technically they're shifted to the right, which whenever I look at it just is, it's awful. I kind of want to get another one just to see if I can get some sort of fix to that. I may even, when I think I see it, I think I can actually pop this off. I may just pop off this frontal piece and try to fix that myself. I don't know. That's why she's an honorable mention, just because of that. Aesthetically, it is displeasing to look at. This Kamala Khan figure, I do like Miss Marvel and stuff like that. The problem is, I think her articulation is very poor, first off. The head does not do much. You know, you can barely get it anywhere. Even her, like, I hate that women action figures. And you could probably tell most of the action figures I just showed were, I think most were women. And I would say a decent chunk on the list are too, because of articulation. Because if they had like double joints and, you know, all this stuff. Now she does have nice, you know, like double knees right here. Those go really far. I think these were too spread out. I wish they were a tad closer. I just find it a bit weird. I don't really like that sculpt. But she does look good. And with her accessories having the embiggened hands, I'm trying to quickly find that in my hand accessory thing while I'm talking. So like this, you can unport that hand and put this one on, and there's a fist for the other hand. It's a good figure. It's just one that I don't favor too much, and she does look a little bland. Hopefully when she comes out on Disney Plus, when her show comes out, we get an MCU Ms. Marvel, and I like that figure. I hope they do her justice. But those are all my honorable mentions out of the way, so let's actually get on to the list, starting with number 10. And at the number 10 spot, we have I think it was 2020 Marvel Legends Captain America Endgame Wave. I believe it was Wave 1. Yes, it was the Brothor wave. Or did Thanos come out first? I don't know. I've kind of lost track. This figure, it's hard for me to put Captain America on my list. He's my favorite Avenger, but I think I also put my Captain America figures to such high standards. And this one reusing, I believe, the 2012 body that came from that original Marvel Legends from the Avengers movie. The only new here is the head. This shield is actually from the Worthy Cap figure. So I was actually talking about this on my best list. The clean shield that he should have is on my Worthy Cap. So just disregard the shield, and we'll take that off of him anyway. The shields are great. I'm happy with the shields that we get. It's the figure himself that I'm not pleased with. And the reason is because they use the same build from the 2012 figure, which just looks so bad. Like, there are some parts where you can see this. It just feels so weird. And you can see that these are even connected to, like, if I bring this up, this will come up with it. If I bring it to, it's just so bizarre, and the articulation is so poor. The only thing they added was this head sculpt, which is, it looks really good for the figure. It does, but it's accommodated with a poor body. And the fact that you get wrist rotation right here. You don't have any movement in the hands for whatever reason, which I really dislike. Whatever this is, I know that's not how a back is supposed to go. Unless he's really trying to stand up straight. It's just an awkward figure. But again, it's Captain America, so he's on this list because he's Captain America, but he's on the number 10 spot because he's Captain America. I love him, but I hate him, this figure, at the same time. But again, I don't truly despise this figure, okay? Like I said, none of these figures, except for number 1, do I think I dislike. So let's get on to number 9. And at the number 9 spot, we actually have a pretty recent figure. This is the, I think, Marvel Studios wave. Like Avengers Endgame and type movies wave. This is the Obadiah Stane. And I actually put the Ironmonger in the honorable mentions for my best video. So you're going to see that, you're going to see that a few times, guys, where I put, like, there's a 2-pack and one of the figures is in my best and one is my worst. And that's kind of how these 2-packs go. You get one really good figure and then one mediocre figure. And this figure just doesn't do it for me. I love the accessories and face sculpt. I think adding a suitcase that opens is nice. But the problem is the arc reactor doesn't fit in it. I just don't like that. But the arc reactor looks great. The real reason he's on this list, everybody, is just because I don't care for plain suited figures as much. What I wish they did, in all honesty, was maybe added someone else to the set. So maybe the Ironmonger and someone else, not him. What I would have been fine with is if you take the head off, you can actually put it on to the Ironmonger. I actually have done it. And just like that, there we go. I mean, this looks pretty nice itself. I'd be fine having him displayed just like that if they came with this other head. You could even take this helmet off. I think it looks better like this. I like kind of seeing just kind of the head popped off. And I know that might not be completely movie accurate, but I just kind of find it useless that we got another one of these bodysuits. I believe this is the one from Captain Marvel Wave. There's even some paint issues in the suit. There's some white that's showing, which is really bothersome when you notice it. But like I said, it looks good, and that's kind of what keeps him from being on, like, lower on this list, or higher on this list technically, because he does have some cool stuff, but it's just another suit figure. And I will say there is a suit figure I actually do love. Let me actually get him out here. I had him for this exact reason, and I find it funny. It's actually this Louise figure. But first off, I love the head sculpt. I love that he's part of the X-Con, it has that on the suit. And I think he's just fun to pose with Scott and stuff, so you're Ant-Man. So that's why he's not on this list. I was debating putting him on. I was thinking about it, but I was like, I have too much fun. The head sculpt is killer. I absolutely love this. It really does look like him. So I kind of was between the two of them. I knew I wanted to put one of them on there just to kind of rant that, like, I didn't want that. And also, it was Ghost and Luis. That was the 2-pack. So it wasn't like some big character. Ironmonger's a big character that a lot of people wanted. Even if you made it a 1-pack, I feel like lowering the price and making it like a deluxe figure, so having it for like $30, $35, I paid $60 for the Ironmonger and then this guy. And I wasn't just that happy with it. And I think another contributing factor is I actually bought the Ghost and Louise 2-pack for $15. Really good deal at GameStop, and I quickly just decided to snatch it up because the figures don't look that half bad, but we actually will be getting to Ghost a little bit later. So let's take a look at number 7. And at the number 7 spot, we have Death Dealer from Shang-Chi. Yeah, Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi. I know it's Shang and not Shang. I was thinking of, who was I watching? It was Shartimus Prime. He said Shang and kept saying Shang. And I guess I thought about it. I was like, and it's Shang. No, it's Shang-Chi. I know it's Shang. I keep saying. So this is Death Dealer from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Very good movie. I actually love it. I do have a little setup with them. And sadly, he won't be the only one from the movie on the list. And it really comes down to articulation. I like him. I like how he looks. I don't think he came with enough accessories. The hands weren't that good. They were all splayed open. I wish there was more fighting hands and maybe better weapons. As you can see, I did some design updating. I only wanted one knife coming out. It looked weird with the two. And I actually cut this open so he could have articulation, because when this was up, you couldn't turn the torso or bend him in at all, which, again, articulation is such a big thing for me. So having to open up my figure and make it better so I could actually pose him a bit, very annoying. And even so, this is a different hand, but I wanted to have it so he could have this weapon with him. because my Wenwu is actually more so, I have him splayed out fighting with weapon, like the rings, and I gave him a really cool looking katana. So I decided to give Death Dealer this weapon. But even so, the things I've had to do for this figure, the things he lacks coming with, his poor articulation, I mean, he should be a very agile character. That's kind of how he's supposed to be. So I'm very upset that he's not. But without that out of the way, let's get to number 6. And now that I thought about what I just said, actually, I meant 7. I meant 7. All right, and at the number 7 spot, we actually have Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And this figure just really, it's a cool looking figure. I actually love looking at this figure. The problem lies with its articulation and, for me, lack of accessories. I understand that it comes with another head sculpt that's, you know, her without the thing. And as I'm trying to see if I found it. So it comes with this and kind of like her hood unmasked. I'm not going to try to find that, which looks great and all. It does. But it doesn't come with any like phasing type thing. I wish they could figure a way to do something like that. It doesn't come with any extra hands. So these are the hands that you're stuck with. The articulation, the head can't move barely at all. Again, I hate female figures. Now, luckily, this is a bit better for females, having single jointed. It's a bit past 90. But it just doesn't feel as like... Because, like, if I try to get her into a crouch down pose, I can't because her head won't look up. I have to just kind of have her stand there, and that just makes it so boring to play with. So I'll just kind of put her in the back, admire her because she looks good. She just doesn't play good, and that's why she's at the number 7 spot. And a lot of you are going to hate me because I completely forget her name. I know she's Shang-Chi's, not Shang, Shang-Chi's. I don't know why I'm doing it so bad on camera. I usually say Shang-Chi with, like, everyone I know. But she's Shang-Chi's best friend and all that stuff. Katie. I think her name's Katie. I'm going to go up with Katie. And Katie is at the number 6 spot. And it's articulation again. I think her face sculpt is pretty decent. I feel like it's a little plasticky. Like, you can tell it's plastic. Almost. It doesn't feel as lifelike as some of the others. Just the articulation at the legs. My friends. That's awful. Oh, and congrats. I didn't even know. For the whole time I had this figure, I couldn't even tell you that those were pinless. Because you can't see them. You can't do anything with that. The best you can try to do... And it has great accessories... But I feel like she should be able to do more. I love having like really dynamic poses for people that have bows. So to see her kind of just stuck into this one stationary position is so unfortunate. And sadly, that's why she has to take the spot. I love the well, I like the character. I wasn't like, I'm not in love with the character just because I haven't seen enough of her to really admire her. But she's a good character, and I can tell that. She's very funny. She's like comic relief. But she also, you know, does stuff. She kicks butt, and she's really cool. But I think that might be another reason. And she does... One thing I noticed is she's supposed to be really funny, and here's her, like, bland face sculpt. Like, she doesn't have any, like, smile, or I feel like she'd be having a bit more fun. So that's why she's here. All right, and at the number 5 spot, we have Hela, another figure that I hope you don't get mad that I put her on this list. And the big reason, guys, is because Hasbro re-released this in a better 2-pack. I just haven't gotten my hands on it. I would enjoy it because she looks so good. And I did buy this on eBay. So, again, remember, these figures... I only say I dislike them because sometimes they don't come with everything. So this one didn't come with her second head sculpt, which I'd love to have because this just doesn't look right to me. This doesn't remind me of the movie, you know, her pupils should be in there. And the suit looks much better on the new one. And the fact that this one didn't come with a cape, that just really annoys me. So basically, I just have to kind of stand her. She didn't come with any weapons, so I had to kind of customize one. So she's just not that fun, you know. And I feel like she's a bit tall. Just a bit. Putting her next to Thor. Let me see. Like even Thor, like if I put them truly next to each other, I don't know. I feel like she's just a bit tall. So, you know, I kind of have her in the back of my Thor family tree display. So she's just not fun. And most of this is just the fact that I do not go and I don't pick up these figures. Like, could you imagine if she had a hand, like if Hasbro really did this, where it's like this, but like you could see multiple swords coming out, almost like that one hand on Death Dealer, but you could see swords, like she's throwing like constructs of swords. That'd be amazing, and I'd really love this figure. But unfortunately, I just don't, and she's on this list. And at the number 4 spot, we have Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And I mentioned that some of these figures, especially the 2-packs, you know, Deadpool was in my best list. She's in my worst because Hasbro just didn't give her enough love. They didn't give her enough sculpted detail. And I just don't feel like she's that good of a... And look at that, there's a paint defect. So you see how that silver's there and there's no silver there? You say, maybe it's just silver on the front. No, because if you look at the other side, silver's everywhere. So there's a paint defect. She just doesn't have enough texture, I feel. She's just honestly a boring figure. And it doesn't help with the fact that I'll be honest, I don't care for the character. You know, I'm okay that she's in the Deadpool movies. I just don't care about Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Cool character sometimes, but just I haven't seen enough of her to care. So getting this figure in the 2-pack was kind of a bummer because I had to pay more for really one figure that I liked, and then this one was just kind of chucked in with the display. I just don't really care for this figure. I wish there were more accessories because they put all the love with Deadpool. They didn't give her enough. You know, they gave her 2 sets of hands and then these effects. Maybe a charged up head. Maybe more effects that like could cover her body. That would have been cool. Maybe I would have liked her more. But I just don't. Sorry, guys, if you like her. But that's my number 4. Oh, and my number 3 is the Captain Phasma Star Wars Black Series. And there are a few things I just don't like about this figure. Number 1, the articulation is super poor with this figure. Barely can move the head. There's no articulation, barely anything here. There's not even a bicep swivel. It's all here. I don't like how Black Series does this. The swivel's usually here. But some figures you can get away with. The cape isn't cloth goods, which with Black Series, they actually do cloth goods, so I'm upset that this wasn't, because it really does it just kind of does nothing cool. Poor articulation, and she's really tall. Black Series are a little shorter in scale to Marvel Legends, so it's just weird to see that she's basically the same height, if not taller than that Captain America figure. She doesn't look too well with my other Stormtroopers, which is why I kind of have her with my Kylo Ren, who's being elevated by a little stand that I have for him. So it's kind of upsetting to see that. And I did give her a sword from my one Taskmaster because I don't use him much anymore. I have him posed with other things. So I gave her that to try to look cool. But yeah, she's just too big. And it's, I don't know. The poor articulation, all I can do... And I hate this. I hate when I have to just do this, is to pose them. They just have to stand. And I can't do anything cool. I just have to pose them like that. That's disappointing to me. Well, speaking of, the only thing I can do with these figures is make them stand. We have Nighthawk. Actually from, I believe, might be from the same wave that... No, he was from the either first or second. And these two were from Avengers Endgame waves. But they were from different waves. So one of them was from the first, one of them was from the second. I know that because I actually got him to get the Thanos hand, the right hand, because I wanted to display my Endgame Thanos that I got from the 2-pack with Iron Man and Thanos, with 2 hands that didn't have, like none of the hands had the gauntlet, which I actually have displayed, and he looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll do talk about that, a little discussion over him. This figure, guys, you can't do anything with him. He just has to stand. He's always in the back of my displays. I do nothing with him. His articulation's really good, but you can't use it because he's got a big cape on him. So there's nothing you can do with this figure. I don't know the character. I'm not invested with the character. And I'm basically rushing because there's not much I can say. There's not much else I can say. I don't care for this character. I don't care for this figure as much as the rest. I still like him. I'm happy he's in my collection. He's just not as good as the others. And before we get to number one, I did want to mention that Star Wars figure that I talked about earlier. I did say that there's a Star Wars figure that I forgot to put, and it's the only one. It's the only Black Series have good figures. There just wasn't any Black Series to me that made the mark of best figure. Now, if you want me to do a Black Series top 10 figures, I will do that because I could probably do that with ease, and this would definitely be number one for my list. And this is the Black Series Darth Vader right here. And the real, what makes him so great is this cloth cape with bendy wire in it, and same with kind of this down here. You can get him into some dynamic poses. He looks great. Darth Vader is my favorite Star Wars villain. So good, in fact, that I do have a Black Series helmet of Darth Vader, which I can actually show you. If we turn the camera, you can see my whole setup. I think I saw put this in my room tour video, but there it is. It's right there next to a little Darth Vader piggy bank. So I really do love Darth Vader. This figure is incredible. Being able to play with the cloth good cape and just be able to kind of manipulate it to do what you want it to. It does take a little time, but the end result's always super fun, and I love posing this figure. So I forgot to mention him. I'm so sorry about that. He's in my top 10 worst, but he's definitely far from it.